The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw, Review.
Welcome, everybody, to the Raw Review when it comes to Wrestling to the Max. We are here, and this is the October 31st, 2016 edition, and we are ready to talk about a spooktacular Raw tonight. And, of course, we're going to let you know real quick, if you want to hear our Raw reviews and our SmackDown Live reviews every week, go check out the W2M Network. Or go subscribe, and you'll get them in your dock every time you hit your podcast player. Also, W2Mnet.com is a place where you go to read all our Raw and SmackDown stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun if you go check that out. Plus, we also have Lucha Underground, and a bunch of other great reviews like Ring of Honor as well. So, tons of stuff on that website for you to go check out. Once again, that's W2Mnet.com. But now, guys, it's time to talk Monday Night Raw.
Yep, and Monday Night Raw was live from the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut, and they decided to start the night off with an old man, but still getting very much a lot of attention right now. Goldberg coming out, the crowd was very into this, and certainly something that helps in creating buzz for Survivor Series, and that he comes out, he talks about the match that he's having with Brock. Paul Heyman comes out, and then he acts like Brock Lesnar's going to come out after him, but it's all a ploy to get everybody excited. Goldberg gets pissed, then Rusev, of all people, come out. And Rusev kind of challenged Goldberg a bit, like, hey, I don't think you got it anymore, and I don't know that you can do a jackhammer or a spear or anything like that. So basically, after a couple of botched knees, Goldberg does do the jackhammer. Doesn't hold him up very long, but still does it. And then he spears the crap out of Paul Heyman. And that is your opening segment. It's the only time we'll see Goldberg the rest of the whole night, but it was kind of a cool thing to see, at least.
Yeah, and basically the way this Raw, began was all about Goldberg with all the chants, and so you kind of got the gist of what was going to happen. I think this was fine. Goldberg didn't have to say too much because Paul Heyman did a majority of the talking, but for what the talking that he did in the brief time, still did good. I mean, he still actually looks comfortable. He's believable in the ring when he's on the mic, so I'm happy with that. You can definitely tell this guy has still got a little bit to go before he really is ready for this match, at least in my opinion. Unless, maybe he just had to get some of the rust off in this little brief time with the Rusev. But, man, it's kind of scary to me to think that in that however long it took, maybe it took 7 seconds, 15 seconds to do all the stuff he did in the ring, it was already sloppy. That concerns me a little bit. But besides that, this is fine. This gets you ready. They gave the tease that Brock Lesnar was there, which was kind of cool and all that. And I had to appreciate the fact that, they did let Goldberg spear Paul Heyman. That was kind of nice to see. That adds fuel to the fire, too. Because, let's be honest, what really is this feud about? It's just about two guys who had a match a long time ago. One had the victory, one didn't, and they're just going to do this again. That's about all it for me. That's what I'm getting out of this. Now there's actually fuel to the fire. Goldberg's physically attacked someone that Brock Lesnar actually cares about.
Does this do anything to hype you guys up for that match at Survivor Series? Like, do you guys care at all?
Yeah, Sean, I mean, the way I look at this is I was a huge Goldberg fan for years, and however long he wasn't that long, but I was a big Goldberg fan. This was not hype enough. It was a better showing than what we've had, which, let's be honest, there's not been a lot of sample here for us to actually take from.
It's very true. There really isn't a whole lot of sample to take from, but I mean, I was kind of already sort of hyped for this, so I don't really need, per se, anything else for them to really do. I mean, I would have been a lot more hyped had Brock shown up and they had actually had a stare down or whatever. I mean, talk about your Halloween edition of Raw that not all people are probably watching, because it might be the time where you're out trick-or-treating. You might have had them out earlier because of school. Depends on you, obviously. But, I mean, they had a SmackDown house show, and that thing did not look very full at all. It looked actually really, really empty. Sometimes I wonder if WWE even thinks about what they do. Like, I mean, it's already hard enough you're going to have a Raw on Halloween. Why are you going to have a SmackDown house show on Halloween? But yeah, I'm not. It didn't do a whole lot for me, but I think it's cool that we get to see Goldberg doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Reading this and everything they've done so far, other than the initial Goldberg promo, I don't really feel very hyped for all this. Like it's, and it might be just because I don't care enough about Goldberg, and it might be just because I don't really see this going any other way but Brock Lesnar beating him. But I feel nothing whenever I see this. Like, oh, hey, Goldberg's here. That's okay, I guess.
Now, there is a rumor going around that they might have him against Undertaker. Goldberg's a big enough star, I think he can lose, and it's not a big deal. But, I mean, if you're going to have him face The Undertaker, I mean, having him come off a loss, that kind of doesn't help him at all.
So the first guy that WWE thinks should pin Brock Lesnar since his return, who hasn't been pinned at all, they think it should be Goldberg.
I don't know. I'm just saying that if you're placing logic
shoot this
on
company in the head right now.
I don't think it'll be Goldberg either. I mean, he's there obviously to lose, but I'm just saying that thought is there.
You know what? It's not a awful thought if we get to Survivor Series and Goldberg impresses. But saying that, it's almost like you're just setting Goldberg up for either money purposes, which that's why he's here in the first place. He's not here for really any other reasons besides lots of money and for his son to see him wrestle, which that's going to be accomplished when he faces Lesnar. There's no way possible if that happens, he's going to be Undertaker. So why would you do that? Plus, he's already advertising in a way that this is his last person he's going to be facing. So I'm not saying the rumor's not true. I'm just thinking that's a little far-fetched when it comes to logic and other great stuff. I'll say this about Goldberg, though. Like I said, I was a huge Goldberg fan, and I still, to an extent, am. I really do like the character. He has a special place in my heart. He really does. But old man Goldberg with a white goatee, it just screams old. And you know, who am I? I can't really speak for myself because I'm already getting white. This is coming in my beard already, and I'm 33. I don't want to look real old myself. I don't know why he's cool with that. I wish just for this he would have put some Just for Men in there, whatever it takes to get that back dark. And then get through with this match, and then go back to white-haired goatee man. I just think that makes a lot of sense. That's the way it's in the video game. Heck, I think the picture that they've been
but you're using Goldberg from like WCW era Goldberg or
yes, but
whatever.
Don't you want? That's what they're relying on. They're relying on WCW Goldberg to get these kids who are 10 years old to understand this match, the relevance of this match. I mean, guys like me, we're kind of done with the Goldberg. We've been done with Goldberg a long time. They're trying to sell this to the kids, to everybody, and I don't know. I just think they should have made him look younger. Just that's my personal opinion. That would have hyped me up even more, to be honest with you. I would have really been excited because, like, man, I just feel like I'm back in 1998. Yes.
I don't think anybody's gonna. I personally think he looks fine with the white and gray in there, and he looks like a pissed off old man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unbelievable to me. I'm sorry. It just I get that old men are strong. I get that, but it's just, to me, it's something that would make me feel better. I mean, it's just nostalgic. Me, I love nostalgia. I mean, every time I hear Third Eye Blind, I go back to high school in my mind. So that's the kind of way I feel about this. I wish I could go back to high school, middle school with Goldberg, and I can't.
Oh, don't get me started on Third Eye Blind. I listen to it all the time when I'm working on the overnight shift on Sundays, and I'm like, oh man, such a simpler time.
Oh, I know.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Old Man Goldberg either. I mean, I think it's just Goldberg is kind of saying, okay, I'm older. I'm not going to sit there and try to look something I'm not. And I guess I don't blame him in a way.
Well, Paul, I mean, looking at that, and let's just go by that analysis. Is this basically just Goldberg saying, hey, I'm doing my last shot here. I'm coming in. My kids gets to see me in the ring. I'll do a good thing. I'll spear Paul Heyman. I'll do something. I'll jackhammer Rusev. Next week, I'll do something to somebody else. My kid gets to see me be successful until my big match. I'll lose. I'll walk out of the ring smiling that my kid got to see me. That's all he really cares about, I'm assuming. And that's really not really for the fans. It's more about for Goldberg.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure Goldberg cares a little bit about how he comes on. Like, I'm sure he doesn't want to look like a train wreck out there, But I think if he wrestles reasonably well, his kid gets to see him in the ring, he makes a bunch of money. I mean, I think that's a win-win for Goldberg.
He also, I mean, I don't know if it's just because maybe Rusev wasn't ready for it or what it was, but he had a little bit of trouble lifting up Rusev for that jackhammer. Was not super smooth or anything.
It's probably the first time he's given a jackhammer in, 10 years?
I'm just saying, like, maybe it's just one of those, like, he didn't get Rusev ready, or, Rusev wasn't expecting it right then. I mean, he did mess up the frickin' knees before then, so.
This guy, all he has to do all day is train. I mean, from my understanding, he does nothing else. So, to me, I mean, he should be ready. That's, to me, inexcusable. He should be ready to do this.
I thought, I don't know, I feel bad for Rusev. He almost kind of got buried in the segment. Yeah.
It doesn't look good for Rusev all the way around after this show, if you ask me.
No, it does not. If I were him, I'd be worried.
So, aside from this, the sort of main thing in the show was, again, where we're starting to go towards Survivor Series here. Thankfully, SmackDown started a little bit early because they didn't have a pay-per-view to worry about. So they have Mick Foley. Basically, he has a little backstage segment with Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman, I love the fact that Mick Foley tried to act like he wasn't intimidated, but he is intimidated. And he's like, well, if you're trying to get me to not be intimidated by you right now, or to be intimidated, it is working, but I'm not just going to give you a spot. I'm going to put you in this battle royal with all these other geeks and Sami Zayn and Neville. And then, we'll see what happens after that. And so we also get Foley coming out after he already had a backstage segment with Jericho, where Jericho basically says, well, you need us. We are your captains. We're the best you got. And he doesn't want to admit that they are, but okay, you're the captains. And then they have an in-ring segment where somehow Kevin Owens is fourth banana to Mick Foley, The List, and Roman Reigns, who eventually comes out as well. just I don't know when Kevin Owens is going to be central to this feud that is going on. But man, he's the Universal Champion. He doesn't feel like he's the most important guy. Just, ugh.
Yeah, you said it right there. I really don't say anything. You just said it. I mean, that's the honest truth, and that's the biggest bummer part of this, because I think Kevin Owens has been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. I mean, I'm sure this is something he's thought about for a lot of his career, and now that he's finally in it, it's kind of gotten in muddy water. It's clouded vision. It's mixed up with all this other stuff, and I think it's fun. We've all talked about this plenty of times. Chris Jericho, great addition. It's fun. He adds something to it. But on the other hand, now instead of just being Seth Rollins involved, now you're involving Roman Reigns. Now the water's really getting muddy, and now, really honestly, Kevin Owens is the backup role. And I can't help it, but Chris Jericho has done a great job with the list, the comedy, the willingness to do all the things that he does. He's kind of in the forefront for most of this. I mean, really honestly, he does a lot of the more of the talking. I mean, we did get a good segment here with Kevin Owens, getting a lot of, to say more than usual. But I just think that this is kind of a sucky situation for Kevin Owens. He kind of is left in the background.
After watching Hell in a Cell and reading all of this, it really feels like they're trying to build Chris Jericho up into something, so that way when he does either turn or Kevin turns or whenever that relationship goes sour, they already have the heat around those two, and not so much, around whoever Kevin Owens was feuding with before, right? So I think it's smart in that aspect, but I absolutely agree with you guys and hate how little Kevin Owens feels like he matters weekly on Raw. And I'm losing so much faith in this brand over these last 2 days. It's unreal.
And if you didn't know, we did. I did a Wrestling the Max extra with Harry and Patrick over there, Wrestling Unwrapped. These two guys unfortunately could not be there, so you'll get to hear. If you're listening to this first, you'll get to hear both of them talk about their thoughts on Hell in a Cell on the W10 Part 1 that we're doing after this. If you listen to the other one first, then you already heard what they had to say. As Paul alluded to there, I mean, this being the one after Hell in a Cell, it's amazing. I mean, they did let Kevin Owens gloat at least about that, but man, it just seemed like, and then you have Roman Reigns out there, and he's getting booed, and they even chant "Roman sucks" at him, and he's like, there's a couple ghosts in the crowd there, and Mick Foley tries to save the whole thing with, "My wife loves you, by the way, Roman." That's okay. Ringing endorsement. Foley's wife loves Roman Reigns. But, yeah, I mean, they set up a Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho U.S. title match for later in the show. And, it's the only title he's never won, apparently, in WWE. So, I like the way they went about it. Roman's hurting from the Hell in a Cell. Jericho acknowledges that, even though nobody except for Seth Rollins is actually selling any of the injuries from the Hell in a Cell. And Sasha, I guess, because she didn't show up. But it's amazing to me. We had 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Nobody's selling this beating that everybody got. It's okay. Wow, WWE.
Yeah, it is. And that's the sucky part about this, because I've assumed Rusev, when we saw him come out, would be kind of limping or doing something and running his mouth, but still looking worse for the wear. Same with Roman Reigns. Same with the rest of everybody else in Hell in a Cell. And honestly, they look like they just got back from, Cozumel or something. I mean, they look like they're comfortable and just had a nice little, drink backstage. I feel good. No, you should be just basically falling over in pain because, I mean, you talked about it last night. Me and Paul talked about it later, but man, what Kevin Owens went through by himself, jeez, I'd be in the hospital.
Yeah, I don't get the no sell there either. It's really sad, and I mean, at least it's something that we'll talk about on the next on the actual main W2M show that Ring of Honor does well, is having guys sell injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm trying to find the actual thing here because I don't know if it got put into. I did not. This is great. I gotta go fiddle around.
Yeah.
But there was
That's
a cruiserweight title rematch that also happened on this show. Brian Kendrick did acknowledge the whole, well, I kind of tricked you into thinking that I wanted you to let me win. I didn't need to let you win because I was playing with your mind. He even says I was playing mind games, and I really hate when they have to come out and tell you they're playing mind. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? If you're having to tell somebody that you're playing mind games with them, like, the whole point is to make them think something, and then they figure it out themselves. I guess this goes back to WWE thinking their audience is dumb, but should be nothing new. I mean, the match was okay. Perkins almost killed Kendrick doing that Hurricane Rana to the outside that we saw him do a bunch of times in the Cruiserweight Classic. It was kind of scary. But Kendrick winds up winning again, as you'd expect after he just won. But man.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I didn't really have a problem with any of that. I mean, basically the way Kendrick comes off is very arrogant, and that's good for him. I mean, it really is, and he's being a snob about everything. He is acting like he's the smartest guy in the room, even though everybody else knows he's not. Everybody questions him from his age to his, it's just everything about him. Let's just say it that way. And this guy continues just to act like, hey, don't worry about me, worry about yourself. Just know that I'm the better than you. That's the kind of way he kind of acts. And so saying that, I get your point, and you should not really honestly have to tell people you're playing with their mind, but I think that's kind of the gimmick here. He feels like you're stupid, and he's trying to make a point that you're all dumb, you bought in. And I think they did that pretty well on Raw Talk after the pay-per-view. He did a great deal with Booker T there, and I think the same way with the crowd and everyone. He's trying to play this off like, hey, I had to spell things out for you in a way, and guess what? You're just not, going to be able to beat me, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, guess what? He's a chicken heel. He always gets beat at the end of the day.
I'm still flabbergasted at the title change. I've read a lot of people's thoughts on it, that they thought the division needed to change because obviously what they were doing with TJP wasn't working. The division isn't working because Raw doesn't know how to freaking book this thing at all. And having your heel come out and say, I'm playing mind games, you're so dumb, and then having TJP still be dumb in the match is flabbergasting. I don't even know anymore,
in this
guys.
entire feud.
I don't even know anymore. Can we give it to Rich Swann so at least we're entertained? I'm so done already. I'm so done, guys.
I get you. It's frustrating, and you know what? I don't blame you for being frustrated with this. I think TJ Perkins is a fine wrestler, does a great job. I like Brian Kendrick. Glad he's around. But I'm totally with you on, I just wish one of these other young cruiserweights would get the opportunity to hold the belt. Maybe they're just not ready on the mic. TJ Perkins definitely still not ready on the mic. I don't know if he ever will be. Maybe that's just not him. But Rich Swann, Drew Gulak, any of these other guys would be a fine champion, and it'd be something new, and we'd get a chance to see this division. I just think, really honestly, the reason Brian Kendrick got in the first place is just because he's familiar to the people in the back, and they know who this guy is, and they need him to get the whole division over. No, they don't need him to get the division over.
He's also the only guy that has a character.
Oh, exactly, but you got to build the other ones, and you're not going to build them unless they get screen time. It's just like you can't have a backup quarterback the MVP of the league because you don't know what he can do till he's on the field.
Unless you're Dak
Right.
Prescott. But,
Yeah.
So
Well, he's not going to be MVP, but you go ahead.
you couldn't just
Could
revel
be.
in the fact that, you never know. But still, for one, how does this get less time than Enzo and Luke Gallows from earlier? But, seriously. The number one problem is you don't establish any of these guys. They're just out there having matches. Now, they did have a good 6-man match during the Hell in a Cell, and they had basically a good rematch, except for you switch Rich Swann with Sin Cara during Raw as well. It was entertaining. Just, what else are we doing with these guys? I mean, you've got to sort of develop characters for them, or you've got to develop reasons for them to. That's why I know that it's very hard for people to comprehend things, but why not have something that's exclusive to the cruiserweights? Like, just have a power. If we're not going to build characters for every single one of these guys, and I understand some of them are loans from Evolve, so you don't want to spend a lot of time on them, but develop power rankings for these guys and say, okay, well, this guy beat this guy, so he gets a title shot, or somebody beat Kendrick, so he gets a title shot, or whatever. Just make it that way. If you don't want to develop something else for those people to get attached to, just, you got to have them be out there besides just having 6-mans and having tag matches and whatever. And you can't only have one feud built around the title, and then the one feud you do have, it's just very poorly done. So, this whole division is just in a mess right now. And I feel bad for TJP too, because he just looked really dumb throughout this entire feud, and it didn't end here on this show. I did mention that there was a trick or street fight, whatever the hell. Enzo comes out dressed as Buzz Lightyear, which I can totally appreciate. For many, that's their first experience with Pixar or just Disney in general for many. So it's really cool to have this, and they were totally committed to the characters. Cass takes a line from the movie and everything. It was good stuff. Then you get to the match, and it's of course them just kind of walking around and hitting each other with stuff. There's a candy cane kendo stick, which I guess you can appreciate that. And I don't know if I'm Luke Gallows, I signed up to have a pumpkin put on my head and have it smacked with a kendo stick and lose.
Oh my
Enzo.
god. Alright, WWE finally pulls the trigger on him at Hell in a Cell, lets him beat Enzo and Big Cass. That's great. Then they put Luke Gallows in this with Enzo and have him lose in the most ridiculous fashion possible to make him look like a giant-ass joke again. What are you doing, Raw? What is happening? Where's consistency? Where is anything? Help me. Somebody help me.
Thank
I'm
God
losing my mind.
There was a sign last night from somebody that said, "I'd rather be at SmackDown."
Oh, God,
I
they're
think
so
that
right.
should tell you all you
They're
need to
so
know.
right.
Paul, I went through all my daughter's candy from Halloween. I didn't see any lifesavers, so I can't help you on this one. But
That's
I know, I'm sorry. But I will say this. I get the Enzo and Kaz thing. We all understand. It's about the kids. It's about the T-shirt sales. It's about people loving them. And this gimmick works. But please, don't have them win a pay-per-view match and supposedly get some kind of momentum that they've not had at all forever, and then you go back to making them look like this, and it's a complete joke. I'm with you, Paul. I wish someone could save me too. It's depressing. I want Enzo and Cass to do well. Trust me, love them to death. let them do this on somebody else. They don't need to do this to, poor, I just Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. Those two guys deserve more than this. But this will probably be an ongoing thing. We'll probably be talking about this next week.
Probably, sadly. That's just got to be a thing we got to talk about every week. I feel bad for these guys. Look, I'm glad they're making money. If they're having making money, getting humiliated every week, then go for it. There wasn't, a whole lot of just wonderfulness to take away from this either. I thought Charlotte had a good promo when she came out to finally do her Hail to the Queen thing. She came out and basically wanted to acknowledge that, she is 3-time champion. She defeated Sasha. And she's worried about a weak link in her team. And, of course, she means Bayley being the weak link in her team. She calls Bayley out. And she acknowledges that also Dana's her protege still here, even though Dana and her have not really been interacting very much. So, okay. Thanks, WWE, for that. And Bayley basically wanted to thank Sasha thank Sasha and Charlotte for the Hell in a Cell match last night, that they made history, all this stuff, and that the success has gone to her head because now she's a big jerk. And then Charlotte reminds Bayley this isn't NXT anymore, and that now she has an opponent, and her opponent is Nia Jax. And wait, I thought you just said this wasn't NXT anymore, because Bayley had plenty of interactions with Nia Jax in NXT. But, I digress. And Nia Jax winds up beating Bayley, which I guess is okay, because Bayley needs to lose in order to do her underdog thing or whatnot. But, yeah, right now, I don't think that Bayley's kind of like in that Sami Zayn mode where they have an opportunity to really put her on the map, and they have not done that.
No, they have not. And the biggest problem for me is the fact that they do have that history with Nia Jax. And I guess for the, once again, it's placated to the casuals. That's fine, I guess, Doesn't matter how much you pay attention or pay for their product. They're going to contend for the casuals. But I just feel like they always reach back in that bag and when they need it of history. And you can't keep reaching in the history bag if you're going to ignore the other history in that same bag. And so still, to me, this makes no sense. We've seen Bayley, I think she's beat her twice, if I'm not wrong. I think she's for sure beat Nia Jax twice. So this is kind of funny. They're acting like, Nia Jax is so intimidating to Bayley and all this stuff. And, oh, man, Bayley didn't expect this. And if I'm Bayley, I'm feeling pretty good because of the history, but they can't portray that. So I don't know. For me, I just feel like I get where they're coming from. I just got to take off that hat of, common sense and go with the fact that, Nia Jax is so big and strong, and that's fine. I want her to do great. I love Nia Jax. I think she did great in NXT. I hope she does well here. But, I wish it made more sense. I wish they would have said, Bayley's beaten her before, but she's always been one of Bayley's most difficult opponents, and Bayley may not win ever again against her. Things like that, Maybe it was all luck.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that presentation either. I feel like in the wake of Charlotte going over Sasha, which I'm still trying to process that one too, but Bayley naturally has to be the next challenger if you're sticking with Charlotte here. And I know she has to play, or they want her to play the underdog. And seemingly the build up to Survivor Series might have Bayley taking a fair few losses and whatever. But this doesn't... I don't know where you go with the division right now. Obviously you're building towards the Survivor Series match, and that's whatever. You're going to do whatever on the way there. But I feel like you want Bayley to look kind of strong. And I'm not saying she needs to beat Nia or anything like that, but certainly maybe you book this differently to where it's just a interaction between Bayley and Charlotte instead of just Bayley getting beat by Nia.
Yeah, I mean, if this is going to lead to Bayley being knocked out of the Survivor Series thing and Nia Jax takes her place, then I think there is a point to that there. Because you can have this leading up to it where Bayley has to fight for her spot and you get the crowd really behind her. Because let's be honest here, like, the way that Bayley has been booked, you get an initial pop for Bayley when she comes out, and then when the match starts, there doesn't seem to be this big crowd reaction for her afterwards. You know, it's like during the match, you're not getting really people getting behind Bayley and stuff like that, so you got to do something there because it's not just about the entrance. You got to get them to be into it the entire time.
Yeah.
Very true.
What else happened on this Raw that I'm blanking on? I was Cesaro and Sheamus beat the Shining Stars. Somehow, everybody, I guess the Shining Stars beat Enzo and Cass for like no reason.
Yep.
Just because. Because that's a thing we do in WWE. You will just beat each other for no reason. I thought the Battle Royal was fun. Braun Strowman did really well in it. Of course, he just had to go power through guys, obviously. The last bit there with Sami Zayn was great. He almost had him doing the Chris Benoit, and then at the end, Strowman just throws him out. And so Braun Strowman is part of the Survivor Series team, which is now Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, because Mick Foley had to have the guy on the team. And I'm assuming Seth Rollins will probably get put in there as well. What did you think of the Battle Royal, Gary?
It was fine. I mean, it was not overly thrilling. It was entertaining for sure, but it wasn't anything where you're, hanging on your hat or hanging on the edge of your seat for most of it. I mean, I think for the most part, I think all of us kind of got the idea that Braun Strowman would win it. I will say this: I enjoyed the end because for a second there, really felt like Sami was going to eliminate Braun Strowman. So I appreciated that. I think that almost got me. I really felt like Braun Strowman was going to come out. So good job on them for doing that. And I do also the whole putting in Sheamus and Cesaro in it, where Sheamus is eliminated by Cesaro, because on they have this match against the Shining Stars, and you really want if they're going to be able to work together after that. And so it adds to the match later on. I always appreciate that. Give us something else to care about later in the show, and that's what they did just by having this match. All around, it was good.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. This seems like the natural progression for what you're trying to do with Strowman, so I'm fine with that. Especially if he looks like a beast during the Survivor Series match, then that'll be just fine too. I'm relatively interested in how SmackDown builds out their side, because if we're putting the Universal Champion in there, and you put AJ in there, where's the rest of the card coming from as far as title defenses go? Because it looks like the New Day are heading up the Raw tag team match as well as Slater and Rhino heading up the SmackDown side of that tag team match as well.
Yeah, it seems like they're starting to get things together. Daniel Bryan is gonna talk about that on SmackDown, so at least we'll get more on those fronts. I mean, I don't. They did build up more of that tension between Sheamus and Cesaro, and then Sheamus and Cesaro that wound up winning that one match that I already talked about. So it's like, well, don't know what we're just continuing to go that route with them. I still don't understand why, if we're not going to do anything with Neville, like, why not just put him in we put Sin Cara in the Cruiserweight division, why can't we do that with Neville?
I mean, what if they're moving him? I guess they haven't really finalized or ever said anything about the winning show getting three picks from the loser's brand to bring over to their show. But if that's still the idea, then what if Neville and Zayn are on that short list there?
Yeah, and I've always gotten the idea that WWE really wants to have some of these guys that are maybe in that cruiserweight weight class not to be put in it for certain reasons. They want to be able to use these guys in other places, and I have a hard time believing they're going to use cruiserweight guys on anything else unless they kind of graduate from the cruiserweight division. I kind of feel like that they're using this cruiserweight division to showcase young stars on national TV and not just do it on NXT. Maybe this is a place where they really like a guy who's in that cruiserweight class and they can put him on TV and make a big deal about it without having any other major storylines, and you can still have his Sami Zayn go for the IC title, US title, whatever brand he's on, if let's say he gets traded or any of that other stuff. So I think they're trying to make a distinction, and Neville definitely would fit cruiserweight. I agree with that. I think it would make all the sense in the world, but I don't know. I just have a gut feeling they're trying to make that cruiserweight division just kind of a little bit off to the side.
Yeah, very true. Just, even if you are, I mean, Daniel Bryan could choose to take one of the cruiserweights if he wanted to, and they don't have to be cruiserweights on SmackDown. So,
Sure.
It's hey, what a help that would be. It would show that somebody cares about the cruiserweights since Raw doesn't. We can't end this show without talking about the three faces of Charles Wright that the New Day put on for Halloween. This was great. Big E was Kama Mustafa, Xavier Woods was Papa Shango, and Kofi was the Godfather. And they all talked about the Survivor Series tag match and how they're the captains. And Francesca apparently has a sister, and she's going to be coming soon. And they don't know any of the SmackDown tag teams except for American Alpha because they don't watch SmackDown. So that's good to know for the New Day.
And why wouldn't you watch SmackDown? It's a better show. Come on, guys.
I know. I understand, but apparently it's Xavier Woods D&D night.
Oh, okay.
So,
that's fair.
Yeah,
that could be
it's
it,
tough. But
did you like their costumes, Gary?
Loved it. I really did, and I love it because basically they're making fun of. Aren't they kind of making fun of the nation here? To an extent.
Oh, they're making fun of Godfather with all his different.
Yeah, the Godfather.
Yeah,
that's right.
So it's got to be a little jab at Mick too for the three faces of Foley. You got three faces of.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. So I love it. I do love that. And at the end of the day, these guys were really funny. A lot of what they said made sense. It wasn't just them doing, stupid, silly kid jokes. They actually had a lot of clever things to say. So I appreciated it, and I really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. It's probably the most enjoyable segment I've seen them have in quite a while. I mean, for, I don't know, the last month, they've been kind of blah to me, and I just could care less. This is actually something I was very happy with.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I agree with you. They've had their segments sometimes, but it's kind of been okay. And this one really hit it on the head, so terrific for them. Then at the end of the show, when, Kevin Owens causes the DQ, and they're beating up Roman Reigns, the fans actually chant, "We want Rollins." And it was pretty loud as well, so, Roman was seething with envy there that he would not be getting those "We want Roman" chants. But this was a really good just ending to the show because you kind of have Seth and Roman just kind of staring at each other, and the crowd was chanting "Shield," and they were chanting "Yes," and I mean, look, it's the last really great story that WWE's been able to tell consistently over years, and it's worked out for them in that anytime they pass, the pass cross, the crowd seems to be into it. So, and here we are with that again.
Yeah, exactly, and I agree. And at least we're getting a chance to see these guys, at least be entertaining now, and hopefully in some really good matches. Like I said, they touched on some of the things at Hell in a Cell and all that. So, I mean, for me, these guys did a pretty good job tonight.
Too bad Roman, had to keep the music, because then you can't even have the cool thing of, oh, they're tagging for one night and they're coming out to the Shield music and all this stuff, and nope, can't do that.
Yeah, but do you really want
couldn't get rid of
Shield?
that music? It was too awesome.
I know, but it wouldn't have hurt them at all to just save it for those certain occasions. This is Rollins saving Reigns for what seems like about the second or third time. So, interesting at what this is going to turn around to be, if this is all just Survivor Series ploy, so you do have the two faces and the two heels, and eventually, it's all going to break out in a brawl or whatever. But, this thing is going to be so weird, because if they have all these Survivor Series teams where there's a bunch of faces with heels, aren't they all just going to wind up brawling with each other eventually? It's going to be the same match over and over.
Isn't that kind of what they're trying to go for in this main one? I feel like is you have, it might be that up and down the board, but if you have the stip of, hey man, we get to steal stuff from another brand or something like that, and you make all these matches matter, shouldn't it be more about who can work together the most for their brand to succeed and whatever else? If that's still a thing we care about.
I'd hope that Raw would care about their brand succeeding, but it is it is what it is on that one. I think we did mention everything here, so we kind of need to get to a final rating for this show.
Yeah, thinking about that, and that's a good question because, for the most part, I honestly enjoyed it, and it was a holiday episode of Raw. And yeah, sure, people will say Halloween's not a big... Yeah, but there are a lot of people out, doing things for Halloween. I know I was. I didn't get a chance to watch Raw till I got home, and it was actually a really good episode compared to some of the ones I've seen in the, last, few weeks for me personally. I'm going to go ahead and give it a... Man, I don't know if I do a half. 7.5 for me. I actually was pretty entertained by it, and pretty close to an 8, but there wasn't enough, I don't think, big matches on here to make me just go, yay, Well, I take that back. There were quite a few good matches, but I don't know. 7.5 is where I'm at.
I don't know about 7.5. You had most of the wrestling was just kind of whatever on this show, other than the main event, which was still not anything out of this world or anything like that. I do like we're giving Braun Strowman a character, and we really showed progression for him throughout this show. Who would have thought that Braun Strowman would be an actual interesting part of Raw? And he was on this show. Jericho keeps being awesome. Kevin Owens keeps being just, third or fourth banana at this point. And then you kind of got the rest of Raw that had some good things, bad things. I'll give it a 6.5 for being a Halloween edition. They acted like they actually cared, having Goldberg come out at the beginning. If that's not going to get your ratings, I don't know what else. But after that, it kind of had a rough patch, and then it kind of went okay.
Yeah, and I should have gave it a lesser rating because of the fact that I did get kind of annoyed at the Roman Reigns stuff, and I didn't go off. I really, really wanted to go off. It's the same old hat. So, but the honest truth is I should have gave it a lower rating because Goldberg never mentioned Halloween Havoc. I think he should have.
Upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
WWE should have used Halloween Havoc as a set. That would have been good.
Man, I don't know. But
win some, lose some.
What do you? What did Larry actually give it, Paul? Do you actually know?
I believe he gave it a 6.
6. Okay, cool. Closer to Sean. Maybe I was in a good mood. Maybe I was in a sugar high. I just didn't think it was that bad this week.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good show. Just there wasn't anything. I totally came away from it like, okay, that was a Raw. They did well trying to save it for being on a holiday, and they set up some stuff for Survivor Series, and that's good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for us doing a Raw review here.
That's right. So now we are going to let you guys go on and enjoy the rest of your day. But just to let you know, if you want more content from us, and if you haven't already checked it out, we are going to have a Wrestling to the Max episode 219 part 1, and that is going to be something we're actually going to do now after we conclude this part of the show. But if you've already checked it out, awesome. Go check out our SmackDown Live review Tuesday night, right after Raw. Raw, SmackDown. My God, I'm thinking Raw still. But right after SmackDown Live, we will be on the air and live, and you will get a chance to hear our thoughts, our discussions over what happened on SmackDown Live. And usually, there's some talking smack in there as well. So you'll enjoy that. And of course, Thursday, come check us out. And W2Mnet.com. Wrestling is a big part of that. Also, sports like we got football. We also have video games are a big part of W2Mnet.com. You'll want to go check out all the written reviews and things like that. Just trust me, go check it out. What else am I missing here? Of course, if you want to go check us out on the podcast, remember go to the W2M network, and that is a place where you can subscribe with one click and get all our great content. So there you go, guys. We appreciate everybody for coming and checking us out tonight. Until next time, if you're not living life to the max,
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.